Yeah.
Vlog on a blog. Tomorrow's news today. Get to the truth. Listen, learn, live. Visit us at yadayah.com.
Welcome to the vlog on the vlog. Back in the Ocean Studio. We're delighted to be here with you. And since we have our erudite physician who has studied the human condition, he might be the person that we should ask about something that I experienced maybe 5 minutes ago. I had fed Asher this morning, and I had given a Wookiee something to eat, and Wookiee took and put one of the bites. It was a chicken strip. Beside his bed. He's got a little throne, couchy bed that sits beside my bed where he kind of plays Wookiee. And he had left it there. And Asher managed to really sneak in right beside my desk and take that piece of chicken and had walked out the door of the Ocean office here. So I said, Asher, did you steal Wookiee's chicken? Just in that tone. No scolding, no nothing, no bad dog. Just, oh, Asher, did you steal Wookiee's chicken? Asher stopped right then. She turned around. Without biting down on that chicken, came right back to me, and she handed me the piece of chicken. Now, tell me that's not reasoning. Tell me that's not thinking there. There's not some sense of, okay, what I did was wrong, but I can make it right. And the minutes beyond most people, right?
So
what do you think?
She did the right thing.
She did.
She basically has 90 to 95% of humanity at this time beaten.
She does. I just thought that was so interesting. Of course, I ended up rewarding her after she gave me that piece of chicken. I put it aside and I gave her the equivalent of probably twice that much meat, the little jerky meat strips. And petted her and looked at her and said, that was really outstanding. Well done, Asher. And she just wagged her tail and she was so proud of herself. But she does. She has most of humanity beat in that regard.
Yeah,
All right.
I tell you, when I practice, I tell other doctors, one of my favorite sayings is DTRT, do the right thing.
Yeah, do the right thing. Yeah. There's so many things that you can do as a physician. Many of them are motivated by money, and some are motivated by averting liability. And I'm not sure which is a bigger priority in the practice of medicine today, avoiding liability or maximizing the bottom line for whoever owns that particular practice. But do the right thing supersedes all of that.
Yes.
Yeah. Look at the patient, figure out what you can do. And sometimes the right thing to the patient is just to tell the patient, listen, you're really sick. I can perform all of these kinds of procedures and I can validate this is why you're sick, but I can tell you this is the reason you're sick. And the treatments that we have right now for your condition are not fun to endure, and they are really not going to prolong your life for any length of time. Maybe this is just the time to say, let's go home and enjoy what you have left. That could be the right thing.
Could be the right thing. What I'm alluding to as well, gentlemen, is spending time with patients, treating them, and having dignity.
Yes.
And not performing what I call a WB, a wallet biopsy, where you minimize your time with the patient, maximize your time with billing, and try and minimize your own liability without doing the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah, actually engage appropriately with people, interact with them. And that requires, of course, great skill. You have to be prepared. You have to know your craft, and then you have to be properly motivated to do those things. This is kind of the human design. We were designed for that capacity. It's just that most people have neglected that design, and they don't want to take the responsibility or invest the time to learn so that they're prepared to be of help. And then today they don't want to interact with each other either. They're not interested in working. They're not interested in contributing to making things better. And they would prefer to have a fake interactions on social media than actually engage with people in a meaningful way. So very, very different. Well, speaking of a piece of shit in a suit, we have the dumpster here. The dumpster finally said something that was true yesterday. And that's rare for him to actually say something was true. I listened to Mandami, the professor at University of Tehran, say, first of all, I have to acknowledge that the opening line in Trump's last tweet is actually true. And I don't think I have seen anything from this man that is true in so long. I want to make a special point of it. He says, we are no longer negotiating with Iran. He says, that is true. Now, the no longer negotiating is misleading, and that we were not negotiating with him. This whole month after month where he said that they're dying to do a deal and that we're negotiating, we're close, all that, is that all of it was a lie. Never, ever occurred. I hear sounds. Is that rain or is that just wind, sir? Okay, just rain. Okay. So anyway, the reality is he is, at least for the moment, recognizing that Iran is not going to negotiate with him. And it's interesting, of course, that the prior day he announced that he was negotiating with Iran and that he was very close to a deal the previous morning. And then this morning, the next morning, he says, we're not negotiating with him. So one of those two statements was untrue. So he's lied one way or the other. And of course, it was the pretense of negotiations. The Iranians have just said, we negotiated with you twice. And every time we negotiate with you, you try to kill us and you renounce what you have agreed to. And Madami went right through and said, here are the examples of that. So it is true that's the case. And it is also true that he doesn't have any more weapons to play with, and he doesn't have any soldiers to extend their tours of duty. So without soldiers that will follow his orders anymore, I mean, there's a mutiny going on in the Abraham Lincoln and also the destroyers out there. And that his military has told him he's running out of ordnance, and his military has told him that there's nothing that they can do that's going to deliver a different result if they continue to bomb Iran. And he's not able to negotiate with Iran because he is an untrustworthy piece of shit. So the only thing he can do now is to try to sanction Iran. But wasn't that what the situation was for the past 47 years? So isn't he going right back to what happened before he was in office?
What sanctions have we held back? What
sanction?
Card,
yeah,
right?
what card have we not played? The sanction card with Iran, and what did it deliver? It delivered a country that was totally independent in its own missile and drone development, so that it leads the world in missiles and drone development. A country that has led the world in subterranean manufacturing, so that look at Cara in the background there, checking out the world. She's in the library behind the books, so that they lead the world in manufacturing defensive systems that cannot be bombed from the air, and a country that has come up with a plan in that time to develop relationships with other nations outside of U.S. influence, and came up with a strategy to defeat the world's foremost military superpower. That was all under sanctions. So we're going to go back to sanctions? Look what happened when we sanctioned Russia. We destroyed the U.S. currency as the reserve currency because we weaponized the currency when we did so. And it changed the world fundamentally at that moment against the United States. And then Russia went from a floundering economy to the number one war-based economy in the world, where they manufacture everything in abundance that you need to supply a massive military. It backfired. And so that's what this piece of shit in a suit is going to go back to.
Mm-hmm. And at
And then
least before the sanctions, that the Strait of Hormuz was open. At least they could get, everybody had cheap oil and could get helium and fertilizer.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can't do that.
You can't do that.
So
so it was all counterproductive. Now, on the next part of it, we're going to ramp up economic pressures until they accept our terms. Excuse me, sir, Mr. Shit in a suit, Mr. Maybe it's correct. Maybe that's not fair. Mr. He who shits in his own suit. But he has a
work.
But he has a full-time diaper girl. So he's got that going for him, the head tweeter. So what he wants is, so they accept our terms. Well, may I interrupt here for a moment and say there have been 2 agreements thus far with the Iranians, and both of those agreements, Trump capitulated and accepted the Iranian terms. One was the 10-point plan, which was the Iranian plan. Another was the Memorandum of Understanding, both of which were surrender documents. So what is he saying till they accept our terms, when the only terms that have been accepted thus far by both nations are surrender terms offered by Iran to the United States?
What are their terms?
And this is, of course, a war that Trump now realizes he can't win militarily. So he's going back to economic strategies. And yet he has claimed 94 times that he won the war militarily. Huh? How is that possible?
Yeah. Now, let's be clear. There is no strategy. There is no, we're ramping up. Nothing is going to change as far as they're going to do anything, right? We understand that. This is all just his confabulation of the moment of, I got to, in his head.
He isn't as 1% as aware or as moral as Asher.
He's behaving as if he's had a brain infarct. And to say he's anti-Chachma, he's anti-Chachma. I mean, he should have it on his forehead. The anti-Chachma.
Yeah. And even Asher's smart enough to go poop in the backyard, as opposed to in his and the house or in his pants.
Cold lead. That's why they're top, right? That's why they're favorite. Best friend.
Yep. What do we have there next, my friend? Oh wow, the crisis has begun. Well, to a certain extent, it is absolutely true that the United States is desperate. The United States has changed the rate offered for 30-year and 10-year treasuries to the point of 5%, north of 5%, just south of 5%. That means, by the way, on $40 trillion, that the cost of the debt is $2 trillion a year. Just the cost of servicing the debt at that rate is $2 trillion that you're adding every year. Another $1 trillion every 6 months on top of the deficit that each budget creates. So that means that we're going to be adding $4 trillion to the debt each year without any means of being able to finance it. So that puts the United States in a really shitty position. Speaking of shit in a suit. But the United States isn't actually in the worst shape. That's Japan. Japan is in free fall. The Central Bank of Japan has no idea what to do. Japan now owns 3 times more U.S. treasuries than the next largest player. It used to be number 1 was China, number 2 was Saudi Arabia. Now China and Saudi Arabia have sold so much U.S. debt that they're down into the $600 billion range, where Japan's up in the $1.2-1.3 trillion range. Huge difference in those two, and Saudi Arabia is way down. So, and they're both sellers; they're not buyers. Japan is in such a vulnerable position with 230% of GDP of debt that where the United States is a debt is 125 to 130% of GDP. Well, in Japan, it's 230% of GDP.
Wow.
They are so desperate to shore up the yen that they told America, just flat out, you have a choice. You can buy the Japanese yen, or we're going to sell our $1.3 trillion of U.S. debt to shore up, to repatriate our debt. We're going to bring our money home. Now, if
they don't mean that a little bit at a time, because this says $72 billion left. What was it? $72 billion. Foreign buyers pulled out $72 billion in a single month. And this is $1.3 trillion, and it will happen like that, right?
Yes. And the United States has offered two tranches of over $75 billion week to week here recently, buying Japanese debt, trying to shore it up, and it's not working. So the debt market and the bond market, people probably don't recognize. The bond market is bigger than the S&P 500 stock market, everything combined. The bond market actually is the thing that actually values your stock, because the bond market is how money is valued. And money is used to value the stocks that you hold. It's really all the foundation of it's the bond market. And the bond market is cratering.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no winning here. Inflation is beginning to rise rapidly because of inflating the money supply. And national debt is rising rapidly. And it's exacerbated, both inflation is exacerbated by low interest rates, making such that you'd have runaway inflation if you didn't raise rates. But taking the service of the U.S. debt up to 5% adds $2 trillion a year.
Mm-hmm.
And realistically, it probably has to be 10% to entice anybody as a foreign nation to buy U.S. Treasury bills. And that would be $4 trillion a year to the national debt, and with no one to buy it, which means you'd have to create the illusion of money to buy that debt, in addition to the $2 trillion that we overspend. So that'd be $6 trillion a year that you'd have to inflate the U.S. monetary supply to create the illusion of solvency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's
these are
we're out of whack.
These are 2008 levels that the bond market is out of whack as far as what was sold. And if people can think back 20 years ago, 18 years ago, what 2008 was like, the fuel prices.
Major recession. It was the closest thing to a depression that you could have as a recession. And
with less debt, we are in a worse place.
With half the debt.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, this is really serious. And just as the Iran war isn't salvageable, there's no way to end that war. There's no way to resolve that war. The same thing is true with the sovereign debt crisis and the bond market. There's no way to resolve this. It is inevitable. The only question is, how long can nations like Japan and the United States and the EU postpone the inevitable crash?
Yes, absolutely. It is. And we don't have anyone probably that even understands the issue, but number two, can negotiate the issue in a way with foreign countries, because we don't negotiate, right? As far as, hey, guys, if we all get together and do this slowly, they would have some semblance of a plan.
Yeah, the only way that it could be resolved would be for the United States to eat 10 miles of stacked up crow and admit that what it's done has been egregious, and open up monetary exchange way beyond SWIFT to include all the BRICS nations, and to no longer have the dollar as a sole reserve currency, and for the United States to not act like a hegemon in the world, and to scale down its military and its military bases 90%, scale down its national spending 80%, and to stop inflating the monetary supply. And I mean, it's just so many different things. And of course, none of those things are going to happen. So the only thing that is a question is, will the collapse of the United States economy occur 1 year from now or 3 years from now?
Mm-hmm.
Now, they have enough tricks and enough illusions, and people are stupid enough that they can postpone it 3, maybe even 4 years until
Really? Wow.
complete collapse. But it's now inevitable.
Because I thought we were in trouble with helicopter Ben Bernanke. I mean, yeah, I'll drop pallets of cash from helicopters, right? That was his quote to keep the and we're so far along with that. I mean, they don't even notify or put out what the QE is now, right? I mean, they stopped notifications at QE3.
Right. But the reason is we no longer publish the overall monetary supply. Quantitative easing is no longer published. So the aggregate number to which our currency has been inflated is not published anymore.
Yeah,
it's that egregious, because it's essentially 100% of the funding of the U.S. government now is creating the illusion of money, which undermines the value of the currency. It's a direct tax on everybody that that owns a dollar, has a savings account, that owns a home, that owns, if you own anything or have a bank account, it's a direct assault on anything that you've earned in your past. So the government not only taxes your income, it through inflation, it taxes what you have saved and managed to squirrel away after taxation and cost of living. Okay.
This lady.
Oh my God.
A senator.
She is a senator. She is a senator. And the question is she was asked about the South China Sea and what America's national security interests were with Taiwan relative to the South China Sea. Yeah, you're running for Senate. There's only 100 of those that govern the United States and approve treaties and that sort of thing. And she is a sitting senator, and she was asked that question, and she said, "I have to be honest here. I don't know much about that."
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead and play it. It's just astonishing.
In the military, and I love the troops.
I love the troops. But I have no idea about national security. So why do you love the troops if you have no concept of national security? What's their purpose?
Right. Yeah. At least she's being honest.
Go ahead, play it. Yeah, well, yeah, honesty. When you're admitting you're stupid, honesty doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's
Senator, are Taiwan
You ready?
and the South China Sea national security issues for the United States? If so, why?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Are Taiwan and the South China Sea national security issues for the United States, and if so, why or how?
I'm just going to be honest here. I'm not on national security. I'm not that informed on national security, but I do support the military. My brother was in the Air Force for 33 years, so I will do everything I can to support the military. My dad was in the Army. I'm not a polished politician up here. National security is not my thing, not my area of expertise, but I do support the military.
Senator, are Taiwan in the South China Sea?
All right, so she's a schmuckosaurus.
Oh, she is a schmuckosaurus. You know, democracy has to be the dumbest form of government ever. You have people who are clueless electing people who are clueless. What do you get? You get a government of clueless people. I mean, it really is. It's the dumbest form of government ever. It's why the founding fathers of the United States hated democracy. It's why there's actually been no surviving democracy in the history of the world. The two that are credited neither of them were democracies. They were oligarchies, and the reason they were oligarchies is the oligarchs had skin in the game. They actually ran businesses, they owned farms, they produced something, and therefore they were in a position to say, all right, the money that we are producing, that we're giving to the government, can be spent in the following way. And It cannot be spent in other ways. And in terms of our nation's defense, this is what we will or will not support. And so an oligarchy works from that perspective, but a democracy where everybody gets to vote, no matter how stupid, does not. It creates the kind of mess that we're witnessing here. This is a disaster. I mean, it's absolute proof that democracy is the dumbest form of government ever devised by stupid humans.
It's also kind of a I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it demonstrates nepotism is really a bad idea, because I just realized this is Darlene Graham, and I think she was just Senator Graham's sister or whatever.
Yes.
She was just stepped in. Okay.
Yep.
So
she is now a senator. She is officially a senator
for
now.
real. Yes, she is. Absolutely.
Right.
But this is what we get whenever we do pick'ems from the governors in charge, right? I mean,
yeah, this was Donald Trump's choice of pick'ems.
Uh-huh.
And imagine now, her brother was the most vile proponent of death and destruction of anybody in Washington. He was as vile as Trump, and killing people and starting wars and being duplicitous, destructive. He was a devil. And so you have now, and they're running her now for Senate. So they're going to run somebody for Senate. So I mean, it doesn't care. Are you an active? She is officially a sitting senator, but she's running for election. And you're going to run somebody for election that can say, I don't know squat about national security. All I know is my brother was in the military, and so was my dad.
Yeah.
Well, that makes you qualified.
Yeah. Even if you don't know, there are two options, and her pivot was horrible, right? I mean, she could have redirected to, first thing you don't say is, I don't know, but she could have pivoted to, hey, blah, 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 go MAGA something, and not answer the question, because they all do that.
The answer is, I'm not qualified to be running for the Senate of the United States. My apologies. My apologies. I will concede to the other nominee. Goodbye.
Yes.
See you later. I'm out of here. This was a really stupid idea.
Let's all save our money. Yeah.
That is the answer. And whoever appointed me to this is an idiot. Okay. I can live with that.
That's the answer.
Speaking of governments, I want to take a moment, because I'm sure there's some people that don't have an appreciation as to why I stand up for countries like Israel, Iran, and Russia. And I want to be really clear on this, because I think too many people have lost the ability to nuance judgment. What does Yahowah say about the propensity of individuals to be good or bad?
Individuals,
individuals.
They can be good. They can be good in general.
That it's possible for an individual to be good or bad. And if you've studied human culture and human society, what you recognize that there are certain cultures that have a high percentage of bad versus good, and there's some cultures that have a higher percentage of good versus bad. You look here in the African American culture on this island, we have the highest murder rate in the world. We have the highest unemployment rate in the world. There is a problem in that culture. Yeah, I don't know what the problem is, but
two strikes on the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, I have done programs on what I think the problems are, but the lack of a nuclear family, of a father staying around to raise their children, and the propensity of mothers and fathers to be physically abusive to their children and not modeling the value of work has all contributed to that outcome. And so it has delivered a very high percentage of criminal activity. It's likely why when there's a crime, a murder committed between a Caucasian and a Black individual, 80% of the time, it's the Black individual who has shot or killed the Caucasian. And that 90% of the time, if a Black person is killed, it's another Black person that has killed them. The evidence is undeniable that there is a problem. And so it behooves us to to consider the culture. What does Yahowah say about when people become many?
Always bad.
Things go south.
Always bad.
All bad all the time.
All right. So let's go back to Russia. I was in Russia under the collectivism of communism, and I was in Russia under free enterprise. And I distinguished the difference between the two. But that was the distinguishing factor of as it relates to government and economics. I also distinguished the fact that I had been in China the moment that Nixon opened it up, before the enterprise zones were established, and then I went back as part of establishing the enterprise zones in China. And what I noted in Russia is that the average Russian that I encountered was friendly, polite, generous, not threatening, curious, real pleasure to talk to and have a meaningful discussion with. And you felt very comfortable in that environment. I felt very comfortable with the Taiwanese. I felt very comfortable when I went into China to establish those enterprise zones, even when I went into China to visit the first time. I felt the opposite in Japan with xenophobia. I felt the opposite in South Korea. I felt the opposite throughout Eastern Europe and in Western Europe. I feel the opposite now in the United States. So there are conditions that cause people to have a higher percentage to be decent. And there are situations and cultures and things that cause people to be highly deficient. And those things are worth acknowledging. And when you find that the most deficient people are perpetrating war and all manner of havoc on the more decent people, and then they're blaming the decent people for what they have done that is indecent to them, if you don't speak out on behalf of the people that are being abused, that are more decent than the people that are abusing them, like the United States and using Ukraine as a proxy blunt instrument to kill Russians, you cease to be moral. You cease to be informed. You cease to be appropriate in this regard. So I think it's important to do that. Listen, nobody despises Islam more than I do, because I know more about Islam than anybody else on the planet, having written those 5 books on goddamn religion. And that's universal. So I'm not fond of Perry. Why don't we just take Cara and get her out of here? Thank you. Leah can't be dropping off her dog during the show. So what I've noticed here is that, well, the Iranian government I despise because it is an Islamic government and it perpetrates all manner of harm on its people and other people in the world. The Iranians as a whole, Persian people, have a high percentage of being decent people. And they're being attacked relentlessly and being demeaned and being bombed and being sanctioned, and they're the victims here. And so it's hard not to talk to people about how it's Trump and America that are the villains in that war. I just think it's important to understand those nuances. Listen, ultimately, we are within 7 years of having to make the distinction of who dies, who goes to hell. And within a year, we have to make the distinction of who makes this leap from our world to heaven as a part of the Shabuah harvest. And then you have to make the distinction as to who's going to benefit from the Teruah sacrifice. And then who's going to be allowed into the garden, Sukkah. That's highly nuanced. I mean, and you better have an appreciation for victimizers versus victims and all of that. So I just think it's important that we round out the sense of understanding and appreciation for the way the world actually is, as opposed to the way the world is being projected. What's your thoughts on that idea, fellas?
Based on what you just said and who you are, speaking truth to power takes courage, audacity, and boldness. And in terms of what you mentioned about breakdown of a nuclear family, there is no better example than what we've been studying and you've delineated in such a magnificent way regarding Ruth and Boaz and the redemption of Dode.
Yes.
And how Yahowah has rebooted.
Right. The value of mother and father.
Yes. There is no greater lesson to be learned than that. It's beyond powerful.
Yes. I'm going to give you an insight. First, I want to hear your insight, then I'm going to share something on that lines in a moment. But Kevin, what do you think?
Well, we started out talking about, crime in the Virgin Islands, right? And why that was. And I mentioned that it's, first of all, the Torah is our guide. And the reason they have an issue is because, number one, they steal, okay? And are creating, and they're stealing from,
that are working.
The government not working. They're coveting someone else. Okay. And the second,
and by the way, they're stealing too. It's a very high graft rate, probably the highest graft rate in the Western world.
Right. And the second thing is habitually committing murder. Okay. So, I mean, that's, so it's, those are simple.
And not doing what Yahowah constantly asks us to do, which is to work. That's not everybody. Uh-huh. That's not everybody. There's a lot of really hardworking, wonderful people in this community that I dearly love.
And that's what
we're doing here is we're talking about generalities, and the generality is that it tends to be highly skewed towards what we're talking about, with wonderful exceptions among individuals. And those that are the notable exceptions, by the way, they all work. They all contribute.
Oh, absolutely.
They all have decent values. Yeah,
right.
None of them steal. Yeah, that's it's all true.
And the other part of that is that I don't know time-wise how we're going to do it, but it is an individual thing. We can say all Muslims are bad. Okay, that's easy because that's religion. What you can't say is Arabs are bad. Okay,
correct.
Persians are. Correct. So I mean, I have no problem with people Persians with Pashtuns with what I have an issue with.
All good Muslims are bad people. You can be a bad Muslim and a good person, but if you're a good Muslim, you're a bad person. There is no way to make that determination on Arabs, but I can also tell you that I have been in Arab countries, and the propensity of good versus bad swings heavily towards bad.
Oh, absolutely.
So there is something in the culture that had a propensity to move towards bad and away from good, and this is something we ought to be fully aware of. Asher, please stop. My dog is biting her toes again. She just thinks when we start the show, she's free to do whatever she wants to do. She can't receive any correction. And all I had is please stop. I normally have something to toss in that direction, but I looked over my desk and all I've got is this glass that is.
No, don't.
I don't want to have all the
no chicken. No chicken.
Yeah, no chicken. Yeah. So anyway. Okay, now what I wanted to say on what Dr. Jeff said, mother, father, child, family, right? So I'm writing away this morning, and I'm having one of the great discovery days ever in rewriting Written in Stone. Who would have thought? I was just going to turn this little book out and get it back out because everybody likes the short book, and there's really the way that it starts is a really interesting read about laws versus ethics versus morals, and so it is a really interesting read. And I thought we'd just get it updated and new translations, and we'll go. Well, son of a gun, every word is a lesson. And so we're here, and I've shared with everybody the understanding that I was able to develop on who the Malacca is and what our responsibility is with the Malacca. I thought, well, that's good enough for the whole endeavor of writing this book. Yeah. And then we came to Nuwach, this idea that Yahowah rested. No, this is not to say that the Shabbat is do nothing day. It's the most action-filled day on God's calendar. And it isn't to say that God was fatigued. No, it's the day that God is energized.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was looking at that word, and the first thing you notice in that word is that it's written almost identically to Noach.
Mm-hmm.
And what that word is saying is that God, at the time of creation, came up with a plan and put that plan in place that was highly satisfactory and satisfying to him, because he recognized that that plan would play out in a way that would deliver a highly favorable outcome, and that it was nuanced by the idea that he would deploy Noach to resolve the unsavory issues and deliver that highly favorable result, even if he had to be for that time alone.
Mm-hmm.
So what it suggests is that there were the souls associated with Noach, which is Noach, the Amma, and their son Shem, who is Dod, that those souls preceded creation, and they were with Yahowah. And when he deployed them, Yahowah was alone, but he was okay deploying them because he knew from the beginning, before the first card was turned over, that what he had put in place with creation, with the deployment of these three existing souls, would lead to the ultimate favorable result of us returning to Sukkah and the celebration of this Shabbat in the end. And that the entire thing was set up to play out exactly as it has, and that Yahowah knew it from the beginning, that this is the system that he had set into place and the people he had set into place to make it occur. So then I'm looking at what is the difference between Nuwach and Noach? It's a wall. That is the only difference between the two. And the wall means to increase and to secure. We've always described it as a tent peg. Well, we've all described it as a tent peg except one individual who shared it with another individual who decided to share it with me this morning. Kirk, who is their favorite artist in these things, says, I don't think the wah is a tent peg. I think it's a child. And whether it's the one like this with the little arms reaching up, or it's the one we have now with the little head on the top of a body, it's a child. That the Noach would lead to the child through Nuwach. Now, once you see this, you recognize, well, that's entirely different and not different at all.
Sure.
If the wah is a child, then how do you enlarge and secure a family?
By having children.
By having children. So it's not different at all. But then how is it completely different? Because it causes us to look at Yahweh's name very differently. Now, if you're going to accept that that is a child and that God spoke about Noach as Nuwach in the creation account, then his name speaks of a mother and father raising a child.
Oh.
And now you have the covenant family in Yahweh's name. So I thought that was fairly profound. That was my my two insights this morning that set off a chain reaction that I thought was worth sharing. I think that when I actually present this book, and I only wrote 10 pages yesterday, I'll probably get 10 pages today, slowed down from the 20-page pace, so it's going to take a little longer than what I anticipated, but it'll be under 200 pages. I think that it will be a surprise for a lot of people, and it was always a favorite, and it'll be nice to get it back in the rotation. I think it's going to be a real surprise, an eye-opener.
Speaking of that endeavor, Craig, when you went into the details about Malak, Malaka, and then a word that when you define the ramifications of what it means and the symbolism of Malukama, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, what you're dealing to is the first word in the presentation of the Shabbat is Zakar, and it's presented in the infinitive, which means it's an actionable noun, and Zakar, the most memorable of men.
Yeah.
And then it goes from there to the Malaka, and that is the men who carry forth the very message of God. So it's pretty stout in terms of the way that it's loaded, and you go right through it, and God's talking about this, how because of what's done on the Shabbat, we will celebrate the Shabbat.
Mm-hmm.
Because of what was done on the Shabbat and the support of those carrying out the Shabbat of Matzah and Shabuah, Teruah, and Sukkah, we will actually be in a position to celebrate the 1,000-year Shabbat of Sukkah. So it turns what is most people thinks is either a day is do nothing day, or a God got tired and needed a rest day, into something really extraordinary. And even before that, the analysis of it was along the lines of, keep in mind here, God has just finished the first tablet. He's introduced himself by name. He says, you're not going to exist if you're going to have fake gods around me. And then he has 4 very powerful lines negating religion. Saying, don't promote religion. Don't be cajoled into religion. Don't be associated around anything that relates to religion, and don't corrupt your children by way of religion. And then he says there is one unforgivable sin, one crime that you cannot recover from. That's the negation of my name. And all of the religions based upon the Torah negate and erase his name. So that's the 1, 2, 3. It's pretty powerful 1, 2, 3. It's pretty much lay down hand. You could walk away at that point and say, wow, that's powerful. But then you have to ask yourself, if faith is so important, beliefs, scriptures, if churches, if crosses, synagogues, phylacteries, rabbis, priests, trinities, Christmas, Easters, Purims, if all that stuff was so important, sexuality, kosher diets, why were they not mentioned in the next 7 instructions?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you get by claiming you have a relationship with God when the first and the longest presentation is on the Shabbat, when your religion makes a mockery of it? That's the kind of the profound introduction to it, and it's pretty hard to get around that one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, homosexuality can't be a big issue with God. If he has 7 instructions, then they don't include it.
Mm-hmm.
Phylacteries, crosses, kosher diets, trinities, can't be.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I was interesting how you going from Noach to Nuwach, we're speaking a little bit more of Yahowah having a proactive approach as opposed to this sense that I had that we had earlier as a reactive approach. That this was, I don't want to say all a part of the plan, but it was part of the plan, man. You know,
I agree with you. I agree. I've presented it as a reactive approach. I regret creating man, and then Noach saying, "Well, I think I have a solution here. Let's try this one."
Mm-hmm.
That would be reactive.
Yes.
The way it's presented in Shemoth Names, chapter 20, is proactive. I put in place this plan. I did what was necessary to put into place this plan, and this plan included those elements because I knew it would generate the ideal result, which means the characters, those 3 individuals, those souls were already with Yahowah, and that Yahowah had a plan that would play out using them, that would deliver the intended result. And the difference between the two is proactive versus reactive. And while it didn't predestine this result, it made it inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
This very subtle difference between the two. It made the result certain. It was a practically perfect plan. If we can interject perfect into this, it was a practically perfect plan. It was brilliant, and it delivered this result. And so in some ways you say, wait a minute, was I played through all of this? or am I just delighted to have been a player in all of it?
Right. The other part of it is baby wall. I get it's a little tough because they both have the same sense of family, of expanding, for me, the baby wall has a sense of it being very singular as opposed to the tent peg enlarging a tent for many babies. You see but that's just my impression of it.
So you have a mother, you have a father, and you have a child. Aren't you giving birth to the process of developing a larger family? Don't you start with the one child and that becomes many children? Those children grow up and have children, and so with the one can lead to many.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it symbolically.
And the baby wah would be designating the one by intent. So your point is taken and agreed upon, that it is the one. I'm putting my stake in the ground with this one. This is my
and
guy.
It's always been that way. We've always understood that, right? There is
put my stake in the ground with this one. This is the one. And now, but to make that one the one, I've got to give him a mother and father.
Right.
And so it's Yahweh's hand saying, I'm going to give you the mother and father to make this happen. And because of the one, with the support of a mother and father, there's the opportunity for, I don't want to use the term many because God doesn't like many people, but for more. How about that?
Oh, more. Absolutely. Yeah, there has to be, because what's the point of enlarging if you're going to stop the enlarging at one, right? I mean, that's
correct.
I mean, yeah.
Correct. He wants to be judicious about the enlargement and be careful with the enlargement. But there is no enlargement unless you resolve the one.
Yeah.
And if you resolve the one, there's the potential for enlargement, and then we just need to be very careful about it and be as insightful as we would be in this particular case. I am certain that that this will be controversial. That's why I introduced it rather than saying, Rich told me that he had a discussion. He overheard a discussion with Kirk long ago.
He was on Blog Talk Radio.
On Blog Talk Radio, where Kirk said, I also think that tent peg is drawn to look like a child. He says that's how, with all of these characters we're dealing with, and if you get right down to it, I would view that as a child, just like I've come to and view the taw as a tree. This is how we would draw it in those kind of characters.
I never forgot it after he said that. And now when you see what the rabbis did to the Wah,
yes,
how egregious that is.
Yeah, they carved out the sun.
They've carved out the sun to negate the sun. Of course, the Wah is the sixth letter in the Hebrew alphabet. It's the number of man, and they converted it into a vav, which is non-existent.
Right.
And overall, you have these religious men who invert and pervert Yah's word.
They made a vagina out of the Son of God.
They basically, to come up with this maniacal idea that there was an oral Torah delivered at Horeb.
Yeah. So if there was an oral Torah, why did God tell the 70 elders, you don't come up here? And if there was an oral Torah, why didn't God say, remember this? I'm going to tell you I'm going to have a second Torah. Why would he have write this down so it's retained? And now I want you just to take what has absolutely no value, which is an oral rendition, which changes 15 minutes after it's stated. I mean, 15 minutes after you've made an oral proclamation, nobody can repeat it exactly. And by the time it goes from mouth to ear about 3 times, it retains about 5% of its authenticity. So it's ludicrous. And of course, then why, if it was given at the same time of the Torah, Why are the names of those that are ascribed to every chapter and verse of it rabbis that lived in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th centuries?
Mm-hmm. Dude, his son says Yahweh's Torah is Tamim. It's complete, right? It's not an ongoing work, you know?
No, it is not. Understanding it is, not writing it or saying it.
Just to share a little something, I've been doing a study on the 89th Mizmor, speaking of a horrific rabbi who's gone by the moniker of Rashi, who was a French rabbi on the same level of Maimonides. He basically has come up with the idea that Ethan Ezraki is really Abraham.
Oh, he's Abraham. Okay, right,
oh,
sure.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Then why would somebody that is obviously as illiterate, as immoral, as cantankerous, and is lacking really intellectual acumen? Because when you study Abraham, what you find is he never understood anything God was saying. He completely lacked academic credentials. And when you read what he said to God, he was obnoxious. Now, if you want to compare that to Ethan Hajraki in the 89th Mizmor, it's the most brilliant piece of literature ever written apart from the Torah. Yeah. They are as opposite as two people could possibly be. Yeah. And with Abraham, all he gave a crap about was himself. And Ethan Hajraki, he cares about his son, Dowd. And he cares about Yahweh's relationship with Dowd. And he'll do anything to support Yahweh and his relationship with Dowd. No, they're entirely different. By the way, if you're when you're doing an analysis of the 89th Mizmor, I would encourage you to use Coming Home Volume 5. It's my most recent rendition of it and most accurate presentation of who Ethan Hajraki is and the various lives that he has lived up to this point. But rabbis, they get nothing right. All right, what do we have next in the news there, Kevin?
Creepy.
Oh, God. You know how many times when I was doing Prophet of Doom, Brigitte Gabriel would be recommended because she would say something about anti-Islam. And I just said, no, that woman gives me the creeps. Yeah, she speaks out against Islam. Her understanding of Islam is diddly squat. And she's just reckless. And I listen to her on this and I just want to claw out my eyes and my ears. I mean, yes, this woman has given me the creeps, and she's somebody that you would think that, you know, you write Prophet of Doom, Tea with Terrorists, you get thousands of death threats by Muslims for having done so. You do 10,000 radio interviews on that subject, that she would be a natural affinity as somebody that speaks out against Islam. But no, that woman always just, she was like nails on a blackboard to me. And I listened to her here and I say, yeah, well, my intuition sure played out accurate on this one. Go ahead and play this. This is just nails on a blackboard.
When the money is up, where do they go?
Well, and here is the thing. The Iranian people want freedom and they are determined to get their freedom. And the IRGC is basically weakening. Look, there's a lot of fraction within the Iranian government right now. There are sides, the side that said, okay, enough is enough, and the side that says, we're going to fight until the last soul. But they are breaking. They are fracturing. They do not know who to trust. They don't even trust each other anymore. Because we have done such a great job in assassinating their leadership that they know we have people on the inside who are outing them out. So there's major fracturing. And the Iranian public is just a matter of time before they are empowered enough where they feel they are safe in taking
bullshit.
over the
Shut up,
buildings.
bitch. God damn it. Shut her up. God damn it. What a piece of crap. It's this godforsaken lie that caused America and Israel to go after Iran a second time and start a war that cannot be ended. A war that will end up killing 2 out of every 3 Jews are going to die because of this stupid decision that you're continuing to promote. This lie of regime change never had 1 chance in a billion of occurring. It was obvious. Get your head out of your ass and recognize all of the reasons why you did a miserable job, why you made situations worse. And by bombing and murdering their leaders, you galvanized them. You did the one thing that they could not do on their own. It is why they actually baited you into doing this. They wanted you to do this because look what it did. It changed the entire world. It empowered the Islamic regime. It made them the most powerful force in the Middle East. It had the opposite effect. That's how bad a job you did. And you're still so stupid you don't understand it. And freedom for what? Freedom to what? You talk about the Iranian people. That's the most fractured society there is. What do they believe? What do they want? You can't articulate it because it doesn't exist.
Keep in mind also, she's a good Christian.
Oh, of course. Yeah. It's, when the Christians promote their anti-Islamic vitriol, they are a waste of breath. Universally a waste of breath. Because what they're doing is they take the artificial high ground of a deceitful faith that is anti-Semitic and irrational. And then from that position, assail another religion. You have no credibility. You want to have credibility, you write 5 volumes denouncing Christianity, and you write 5 volumes denouncing Islam, and you show them both to be false and both to be dehumanizing, then you got something. And that's not you. So shut up. You are making a bad situation worse. You are part of the problem. There will be millions of dead Jews because of the kinds of things you are promoting. Was the other guy that was that you bumped heads with that was such an obnoxious Christian? He was a Roman Catholic or a variation of Roman Catholic, Jihad Watch. What's that idiot's name?
Shortly after I became acquainted with you, Craig, and learned the truth about Islam, I confronted Robert Spencer about his notion about moderate Islam.
Yeah, he was always promoting moderate Islam. He doesn't anymore, but he did for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And I routinely said, there's no such thing. Why are you promoting a lie? There is no moderate Islam. There's only Islam. And he denied that when you confronted him. And then he came up with the harebrained idea that by holding rabbis accountable for them selling the parts of the Quran to Muhammad that made the Quran appear religious, that was being anti-Semitic. And yet he is a Catholic, which is the most anti-Semitic religion on the planet. And truth is never anti the Shem of God, nor they are anti anyone. The evidence for rabbis having sold Talmud stories to Muhammad is undeniable. It's overwhelming. It is so ubiquitous and so obvious. To pretend that you're an expert on Islam and not know it says that you're a fool and a hypocrite. And Islam would not exist today if Muhammad had not purchased these Talmud stories from rabbis and then woven them into the Quran to create a religious veneer over the Quran. That's just the absolute fact. And that piece of shit wasn't intelligent enough to know that was the truth. So, it's why, again, you cannot partner with a religious person under any circumstances. Cannot do it.
Not only that, Craig, he became apoplectic as I kept gnawing at him, and I basically said, "You have it bass backwards." I said, "The author of Prophet of Doom is Philo-Shemitic." He's like,
"You wouldn't know what that even means."
He didn't. Yeah, he didn't know what it means, and he basically. He just was full of vitriol and
the reason you would know what that means is because as a Catholic and a variation of Catholic, the name of God, Yahowah, is outlawed in the Catholic religion. So he does not know that Shem, the Hebrew word for a name, that Yahowah has but one and only one name, and it's Yahowah. And that anti-Shemite means that you're against the name. And I'm, as you say, there's nobody in the history of this planet that has been more in favor of Yahweh's name than I am, or really more in favor of what Yahud, which is a blend between Yahweh and Dod, beloved of Yah, actually means. It's just piling one stupid conclusion on top of another, and yet these idiots have audiences. They're popular, and you can't be popular by telling the truth. That is something Yahweh makes it very clear. And Yahweh doesn't want you to be popular, because if you're popular, you're not telling the truth, and you're not working for him, because he doesn't like people very much, and for good reason.
Well,
all right,
it boils down to let's just, as a Yehud, let's be accountable. You have to be accountable for what you have done, and you have created Islam and Christianity.
You did, and Judaism, the three greatest enemies of the Jewish people. You created all three of them, and you made a major contribution to Marxism too, which is also your enemy. So you're 0 for 4. Great. Now what? And if you can't tell people that, how are they going to break free of it?
Right. It goes back to what I said before. You have to have the temerity to speak truth to power. Yes,
that is God's approach. All right. So we have Jolani here. He got a lot of different spellings of his name as it's transliterated into English. There's many ways to correctly transliterate a name in a foreign language into English. They just all have to sound the same, and Jolani sound identical. So both correct transliterations. He was a Islamic terrorist that began his career affiliated with al-Qaeda until al-Qaeda lost its prestige, and al-Qaeda was taken back in the shadows by the Islamic State. The Islamic State, of course, is the result of Petraeus's and George Bush's awakening program, where they armed Sunni militias under the auspices they would go after al-Qaeda, but al-Qaeda didn't exist in Iraq, and they actually knew it. So the real purpose was they wanted Sunni militias to attack Shia militias, because the Shia militias were ravaging U.S. troops. And so they created the awakening program, armed Sunni Muslims to do that. And the Sunni Muslims rebranded themselves, not the awakening program, they rebranded themselves the Islamic State in Syria, ISIS. And once they did that, they became the preferred expression of Islam because they were particularly ruthless. They began in places like Mosul and then in Syria, where they rounded up the Yazidi people, which were still practitioners of Zoroastrianism, the religion of the Persians, and they gang raped over years after years, the girls and the young women. They murdered the old women, they murdered the men, and they sold the boys into slavery. This is what they did, and they did it ruthlessly. And this piece of shit was one of the most active participants and inspirations in mass murder, human trafficking, gang rape. And they put a tie on this piece of shit, and now Trump offers him cologne in the White House, and Erdogan puts his arm around him, and he's a favorite among the NATO and EU countries. This is how screwed up the world is.
He's a strong, good-looking man, the man who likes to burn women in cages.
Yeah, that's right. So that's why I gave him some cologne, because, I don't like the smell of burnt flesh in the morning. Well, God was right. When people become many, as they are in Islam, they become evil all the time, every day. Completely and totally evil. And that is the face of evil. Men are evil.
Oy.
Oh, talk about evil. I am just so sick of this man. He has a speech here where he says, we're going to be the aggressors. We're going to attack everybody. He says, I told you we're going to change the face of the Middle East, and we're going to do it because we're going to surprise everybody. We're going to attack everybody. And it's all going to turn out glorious for Israel because we're going to be the bludgeoned hand of the Middle East. We'll destroy everybody, and we'll rise on top of that. We will surprise them. We will hit them. Well, we will transform Middle East. Well, he did transform something.
Oh boy.
Israel. He destroyed it. He's turned Israel into the most hated country in the world. That's hard to do. You have God's chosen people, and he's turned them into the most hated country in the world. He's completely isolated them, and every war that he has started has blown up in his face. He's done nothing to rid Gaza of Hamas. The last picture is just taken 2 days ago. It was truck after truck after truck, hundreds of trucks, all armed, filled with Muslims with guns, all of them, one after another, after another, after another. Hamas is still armed; they're still in control of Gaza, and that was predictable because you can't get rid of an Islamic regime in an Islamic 100% Islamic enclave. So you were never going to get rid of Hamas with bullets and bombs. You were going to make more of them. And now Israel is in a position where they destroyed Gaza so that they're hated by the world and called genocidal. And they've done nothing that has changed the equation in Gaza. Hamas is still there. They're still in control, and they're still armed, and they're still committed to killing Jews. But now Israel is forced to feed those who are committed to killing them, and is isolated from the world as a result of their overreaction, inappropriate action, pursuant to October 7th. He was asleep at the switch. He failed to heed the warning. He didn't respond appropriately. He did everything wrong on 10/7 and thereafter. He did everything wrong in Lebanon and Iran twice, in Syria. He is a disaster for Israel. He is the one who's empowered because of the things that he does on behalf of Israel's parasites, the Haredi, and the fact that he enables them to receive government handouts for doing nothing while they don't have to serve their country. And they can't even get a decent education, so they're employable. He is destroying the country from within and from without. This is an unmitigated disaster for Israel, this man right here, and the very system that empowers him.
The pathetic and ridiculous thing is that on 10/7, before Israel reacted, you in that treatise that you wrote explained exactly what should be done in wielding words wisely. And it's, Islam stupid. Explain what Islam is, not pick out the different flavors within Islam, and also get the term Palestinian and Palestine out of your vernacular. Get it out of your mouth.
Yeah, I gave Israel the things they had to do if they were going to prevail. And at the same time, I said, this is what Israel you're going to do, and this is why you will fail. And they did everything that I said they were going to do, and they have failed. And they did nothing that I told them they needed to do if they wanted to succeed. And of course, the very first thing they had to do before anything else is to vividly document everything that happened on 10/7. Every possible picture, every possible graphic, every autopsy. And in addition to showing how these innocent people were abducted and murdered and raped and tortured, and to have all of the proof of it and nothing masked, all right in your face and vivid. And also show what pictures you have, because they know who were the Muslims who perpetrated this, and to show their pictures right next to it. And on all of the screams of Allahu Akbar as part of it, and then show the lives of these individuals in pictures and videos prior to this occurring, and then show the grief of their family. And putting that all together for 1,200 some odd murdered and another 250 abducted, 1,500 people. If you did that correctly, the combination of all of that material would be 20 hours long, presented correctly, maybe even 30 or 40 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
That's what needed to be done. And if you don't do that, you're going to lose the war of public opinion. They didn't do it. And instead, they went in and destroyed Gaza, and all that was not only detailed, but the Muslims lied and created artificial stories on top of the real stories, and Israel's reputation was trashed. You cannot win a war today without winning the war of public opinion. That's what happened with the United States and Iran. You can't win a war today without winning the war of public opinion. So that was the first thing they needed to do. The second thing they needed to do is to recognize that the enemy was Islam, and that 10/7 was a reenactment of what happened at Khaybar with Muhammad 1400 years ago. Every detail of it. Yeah. And that they had to stop blaming Hamas and start blaming Islam, and to use their words wisely in this regard, to shed their ignorance, to read goddamn religion, to have everybody in that society be compelled to read goddamn religion. Every last word of it, have them tested on it so that they understood the religion that had been perpetrating genocide and apartheid against them for 14 centuries, to know what they were up against. Because so long as they were lashing out at symptoms as opposed to the religion of Islam, they were going to continue to fail. The third thing I said is that immediately you have to hold Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock hostage. You should have done it in 1967. And the deal is you return all of the hostages today, or we blow up the Dome of the Rock. You return all of the hostages. If you don't return them today, after we blown up the Dome of the Rock, you can return them the next day, or we'll blow up the Al-Aqsa Mosque. They're not going to respond to either of those things. Then you have a justification for getting rid of those two Islamic scars on the Temple Mount. They had to go. They were the reason for the vitriol. Get rid of them. The attack was called Al-Aqsa Flood, for crying out loud. Make them pay, and the dearest possible way, cleanse the Temple Mount. Number 4 was never again, under any circumstance, use the term Palestinian. It is an ethnic slur. It's a lie from the beginning. There is no Palestinian. There is no Palestine. But so long as Israel continues to promote this lie and speak of Palestinians as if they were a legitimate people, you're going to lose the war of public opinion. And they did. They lost it. And the most important thing of all is to get your head out of your tuchus. Realize the great harm that has been done to you by the rabbis. Return to Yahowah. Reject the rabbis. Return to Yahowah.
Listen, learn, and live.
And live.
Let me start the education process with my fellow Yehudim.
Yeah.
Know what Khaybar, Ya Yehud, Jaish Muhammad Saud Yahud, what it means. Khaybar, O Jews, the army of Muhammad will return.
Exactly what they shouted that morning. The first time that Allahu Akbar was shouted, it's called the prayer of fear, was at Khaybar. And the thing about Khaybar that folks don't recognize is Khaybar didn't happen out of thin air. Khaybar was a farming community of Jews. They were date farmers, just like the Muslims attacked the kibbutzim in southern Israel. And the reason that there's so many Jews in Khaybar is Muhammad had exiled the first of the Jews from Yathrib, where there were 30,000 Jews at the time, so he could steal their homes and their date farms and their property and everything else. And he exiled the first of them. And many of them went to Khaybar, where he went later, and he brutalized them. And then when Muhammad decided that since rabbis were mocking him because he was buying his Quran recitals from the rabbis, he turned on them and says, well, no, there's only one way to deal with them. As a psychopath, he murdered them. And so the remaining Jews in Yathrib were beheaded. Women were raped. The children were sold into slavery. But Khaybar itself did not happen in a vacuum. Muhammad was such a thug that the first enemy of Muhammad was his own family. He wanted to steal the pagan religion associated with the Kaaba, where rock gods were fed and dusted and watered and for a fee. And he wanted to steal that religious crime, and he did. But when he wanted to conquer Kaabaville, we can't use Mecca because it wasn't in Mecca, it was in Petra. When he wanted to conquer them and his own family, after the Battle of Badr, which was the first successful raid in Muhammad's history, where the Quran itself said this was a raid, had nothing to do with Islam, it had all to do with Muhammad coveting the possessions of his own family, wanted to steal them. And it was vicious. It was horrible. It's the 8th surah of the Quran. It says there's only two kind of Muslims, those that have died killing for Allah and those who will die killing for Allah. I mean, it's really, really disgusting. It's that after that, Muhammad wanted to take the Kaaba for himself, and he went down with an insufficient force. And he was greeted by one of his extended family members who said, "You remember the last time you were here, Muhammad, you were run out of town as a laughingstock. You confessed to the satanic verses and said that you spoke on behalf of Satan. And you imagined the wild ass ride, the winged ass ride, to a city whose name you didn't know and to a temple that no longer exists. You made a fool for yourself on that, and we just left you out of town." And you know that the single most repetitive theme in your Quran is the never-ending argument where we all know who know you best know that you are an arrogant fool and that you made up the Quran. The whole thing's plagiarized. Do you want to go back there, Muhammad? Because all of your followers are going to hear what we know about you. And are you willing to jeopardize all of your followers to go back into the Kaaba and be played for a fool, particularly since your religion is nothing but our pagan religion? So you really want to be exposed to that, Muhammad? And Muhammad said, no, I don't want to be exposed to that. He said, so sign this document. The document said that you made this all up, that you're not a messenger of God, that Allah is not a God, that you've lied about all of it, and that you will no longer terrorize anyone, including your own family, for 10 years. You won't terrorize them, you won't kill them, you will not kidnap them, you will not hold them for ransom for 10 years. That is the Treaty of Hudaybiyyah. The Muslims that were following Muhammad that day, expecting to go into the Kaaba and rape women, enslave children, kill a bunch of people, and steal their property, were pissed. They didn't follow Muhammad because he was an outstanding preacher. They followed Muhammad because it was that he made thievery legal. And so they threatened to turn on Muhammad. And so this whole story is told throughout the Hadith. And Muhammad, therefore, was frightened. And so he needed a quick and easy kill to satiate the bloodlust and the covetousness of the thugs that were the first Muslims. And there was only one easy kill left in camel ride of where they were. That was Khaybar. And so they went up to Khaybar. And they arrived early in the morning, just like 10/7. And the Muslims said, okay, what are we supposed to do? And the Jews of Khaybar were coming out with their farming utensils and said, oh my God, this is our worst nightmare. It's Muhammad and his thugs. And so the Muslim said, what do you want us to do, Muhammad? And he says, Allahu Akbar. Tell them that Allah is greater than the God of the Jews. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. That's where it was first created. And what it means is that Allah is greater than the God of the Jews. Allah is greater than Yahowah is what it means. No, he's not. Allah not Akbar. Anyway, they over the course of a week, they tortured most of the men to death. They enslaved most of the boys. They stole all of the property. And they raped all the women. Muhammad, after he had tortured a woman's father to death to steal his treasure, after he had murdered her husband, after he had killed her sons, took her and raped her, over and over and over and over again. That is Muhammad. That is Islam. That is Khaybar. You can't fix it. And when you're a piece of shit like Netanyahu and you won't even say it, there's something seriously wrong with you. You do not deserve to be leading the Jewish people under those circumstances. And unfortunately, Israel doesn't have a leader. I know more about what they need to do to recover than all of them combined. And I'm not even a Jew.
Well, you
That's a
mentioned
serious
the most
problem.
significant thing is to give up the trust and reliance on anything any rabbi says.
Correct.
That's
Shit
where-
can the rabbis. Just the Haredim, every one of them should be tossed into Gaza. Really, every single one of them, toss them into Gaza. Fill them in the trucks, escort them to Gaza, drop them in. Goodbye, good riddance. Maybe your Hashem will come save you. That's really the only solution for them. Yahowah, when he returns, is going to kill them all. Well, not really fair to say he's going to kill them all. He's going to hold many of them accountable and torture them to the point that they pay 7 times recompense for the harm that they've caused. And all the leaders of the Haredi he's going to send to hell. And it is only the victims of Haredi Judaism that he's going to kill.
Going to be a lot of twirling rabbis, isn't there?
Wow. Yeah. Instead of twirling chickens, we're going to have twirling rabbis. Yeah.
No. Yesterday evening, when you were going through the end of your podcast on Mizmor 34, but describing Dode's ire, anger, and what he has in store. Yep.
And Yahowah agrees with him. God's disgusted with his people.
Yeah.
He's been disgusted with people for a long time, but particularly his people. Yeah, that Nuwach and the Shabbat, it also says something that I neglected to share, which is that once God set all of this in place, he could pull back and then enjoy witnessing it all play out. And you'd say, well, why would he witness it play out over that long a period of time, which is the blink of an eye to him. He knew how it was going to play out. And so there we were, making it happen.
You spend all that time setting up the dominoes. You know exactly what's going to happen. You know what it's going to look like but it's still fun to watch it happen, right?
It's still fun. It's still fun to watch it happen. Yeah, and I'm not disappointed that we were played. I mean, that's the whole story. I could be frustrated, but I said, the fair thing is that even though we were slow to find this, we did find it before anybody else, and we found it before it was too late, and that's a good thing. And it's delightful to know that God knew how we were going to respond to him and what we were going to accomplish collaboratively before it all played out. So there's a comfort in that.
Absolutely. A question on what he says here. Do you think that this is just campaign rhetoric because they're in their electioneering process or whatever now in Israel, and each one's trying to be the, because who was it? It wasn't Ben Gerber. Whoever it was yesterday we saw said that 30 or 40, we should be killing 30 or 40 of these guys a day.
That was Ben Gerber.
Okay. Yeah. Is this campaign rhetoric, or is this a nuclear threat that he's going on about here? Surprise them before they surprise us. It's all about Iran having a bomb. Do you think he's alluding to a nuclear threat here?
Okay. First, everything with Netanyahu is campaign rhetoric.
Okay.
He only cares about
fair
one
enough.
thing.
Fair
He only
enough.
cares about
Absolutely.
one thing.
I concur.
He is destroying Israel for his own ego. So yes, it is campaign rhetoric. Is Israel capable of deploying nuclear bombs in Iran? Yeah. Unfortunately, yes. The answer is yes, they are. And while I don't think there's any chance that Iran is going to deploy a nuclear bomb in Israel, the prophets have spoken as to what Iran is going to do. And if Israel were to try to use a nuclear bomb in Iran. And by the way, they could not even destroy Iran with the number of nuclear bombs that they have. And they would destroy themselves for certain. They'd be wiped off the face of the earth within a week of the time that they would deploy that kind of strategy. But that would be ample motivation, well, not that it already doesn't exist, for the Iraqis to send millions of mujahideen into Israel as jihadists, which is what the prophets say is going to happen. That's why I said that 2 out of every 3 Jews are going to die.
Yeah.
Oh, did I mention here? You know, I think you told me that we have tomorrow. We're going to have Will, correct? Yeah.
No, tomorrow's Noah. Tomorrow's Noah.
Oh, it's Noah. Oh, Noah.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I love having Will, so I'm not sorry. I didn't mean to say, oh, well, no, not Will, but Noah. Everybody knows that I love Will.
We understand.
It's just that
completely.
we don't get Noah as often. And so
Yes.
it's nice to know that Noah's going to be with us tomorrow, just because of the fact that we enjoy him. And this will only be the 3rd time I think he's been on the program. In terms of Friday, the slot, though, is going to be Leah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
rumor.
She says she wants to talk about some girly issues.
Okay.
So I said, okay, you pick your picture and you send me what you think ought to be the introduction to it. We can put it in your voice. I'll post it and Kevin will present it and you can go to town. But I said, you know, we talk a lot about girly issues, both good and bad, on scolding religion and politics for abusing women. We talked a lot about that yesterday and every day, really, and also about women running amok, like particularly Islamic women being particularly bad, and Marxist women. Well, and this woman who's running for Senate in the state of South Carolina.
Not their shining example.
Anyway, yes, we're going to have
example.
Leah. She says, I can't do both shows. I won't have that much, you know, she's an introvert. I said, no problem. You can introduce your new song. People's Song it now has graphics. She can introduce her People's Song and then go and be a listener to the show.
Man, that just happened. You just put a bunch of pressure on me. Okay.
Yeah.
we had two going, and so I wasn't the idea.
I know you have
second,
Mott's
and
at
she wants
midnight,
it
and
first.
then you have
Yeah,
people. But the melody, the lyrics, and the graphics for people. I haven't seen the graphics for Mott's at Midnight. That may be just fun and wonderful and everything, and the song may be wonderful. But people is a different notch above, and the graphics are depot and they are magnificent. So.
All right, I won't sleep tonight. We'll get it done.
Oh.
I
am such a meanie.
Speaking of Amma running, Amma being raw, have you seen that latest post of her depiction of you murdering Jesus?
No, I have not.
It's wow.
It's wow, huh? I'm going to take full credit for it. She always used to say, as a Jew, I killed Jesus and I would do it again. But the fact of the matter is, I actually did kill Jesus. So because I actually did kill Jesus and killed him probably 1,000 times over in the books of Twistianity, almost 4,000 pages of evidence that is irrefutable. I mean, there is no way that you could take 1,000 Christian scholars and put them on just trying to disprove Twistianity for 10 years, and you'd find nothing other than, yeah, he's really right. There really was no Jesus. He did kill him. So I like to see that.
It's a wowzer. It was on. I saw the feed yesterday on Facebook, and it was the most audacious thing that I have seen.
Okay, well, I have to.
Where did she post that?
Not,
because it's I was going to say it's not on hers. I was looking for it. So
is it not on hers? Is it on? If it's on my Facebook, I never go to my Facebook anymore. I got so frustrated with Facebook being obnoxious that
there it is.
I just don't go there anymore. So anyway, we'll look it up. We'll get pictures of it. Oh, this is there we are.
Oh yeah.
he'd have on the
Yeah.
sign is, "I killed Jesus and I would do it again."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow! I like the white shoes and the the Hawaiian shirt, and you're taking and pulling off the mask.
It's very Scooby Doo. It's
Scooby Doo.
it's
Yowza. Okay, well that'll get people's attention.
uh-huh.
My wife, she'll go. She is not going to pull any punches. I'll tell you that for sure. For those that don't know, that are just somehow listening to this, Jesus was a fraud, a complete myth. There was no Jesus in the first century Yahowah. The name Jesus wasn't even invented until the 17th century. The myth was created by Paul in 52 CE. He counterfeited Dode, who's the actual Messiah, Son of God, King and Savior, who was the one who was actually crucified on Passover. So every bit of Christianity is a counterfeit. It is an absolute fraud. And I prove it over and over again. And one of the interesting ways of proving it is to set what Paul quotes from the Torah, prophets, and Psalms to what God actually said. And he never once quotes God accurately. Never once. And then he claims to represent this Iesu Christou, and who never lived, and there's no eyewitness of him. And he never quotes him once, not once. And the reason is because the gospel, which was Paul's term, evangelion, when Paul actually went off so far as to say that his gospel was more important than anyone in heaven, and that if heaven tried to superimpose his gospel, they would meet with a hellish consequence. That it wasn't written, the first of them wasn't even written until 10 years after Paul's death, which is why he couldn't quote imaginary Jesus, as he didn't exist. It's so just over and over again, 1,000 times over, disprove the entire fraud that is Jesus. So that's why she did that. So here's Trumpian thought. He says other presidents, the Vietnam War, the Korean War. He doesn't even know which one occurred first, by the way. He can't even get the order right. And you would think
Ava,
that if you had the title,
I
know, but if you had the title of chief Twitter, that you might be able to get the order right. She was a low-class propagandist and newscaster there for a while. And so you would think that she could get the order right and know that the Korean War took place before the Vietnam War, and that the Afghanistan attack occurred before the Iraq War, and that Venezuela was not a war, it was a kidnapping. And by the way, when Trump talks about the Vietnam War, he will claim that there were hundreds of thousands of Americans killed. He has no clue what the number was. So to have, death tolls that it's certainly not him writing them, because he's clueless as to what the numbers are. The fact of the matter is that Vietnam was called a conflict. It was not called a war. The Korean conflict was also a conflict. It was not called a war, and the entire diabolical of Afghanistan and Iraq were all on false pretenses, never should have happened. And so if you look at this, the first thing that comes to your mind is, what in the hell is wrong with the United States?
My first question is, where's Ukraine? Where's Ukraine? Hello?
Ukraine? Yeah.
I mean, 4 million dead? It's who's taking credit for that shit?
Yeah, really. But there's no justification for any one of these things. None. Why in the world we lose 58,000 Americans for nothing, making a bad situation in Vietnam? We ended up killing over 1 million people in Iraq and Afghanistan for nothing, making a bad situation work. We still haven't gotten out of Iraq. We're still there. So you can't say it's 9 years. It's ongoing. Still ongoing. Because we're not out. We're still there. And then mean, the Afghanistan war has to be among the dumbest things in the history of dumb. And in both of those wars, look at the consequence. We gave Iraq to Iran, and we gave Afghanistan to the Taliban. And in Venezuela, it wasn't a war. It was just nothing but a kidnapping and a stealing of the country's assets. We've even now stealing their gold after having stolen their oil. And there's no justification for attacking Iran once, much less twice.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, by the way, it's not 4 months. Somebody can't count. I think it's 6 already, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's 7 if you count the first attack, of which there was a ceasefire. It's 7. Well, now it's not 7 months. It's a year and 7 months.
Year and 7
count
months.
That. Yeah. All right. He is a piece of shit. Shit in a suit. I'm going to still say again that one of the greatest crimes ever perpetrated against the Jewish people was when Moshe Dayan's troops managed to take the old city. For the first time, Jews and since 133 had been allowed back into their city. It was the first time they were allowed back, and they did not clear the Temple Mount of these Islamic scars that was there. This was now the second of 3 wars to annihilate all Jews. And they had prevailed in this war and saved themselves from annihilation at the hands of Muslims. And he didn't have the wherewithal to put enough together to say, shit, they're there. All they want to do is kill us and annihilate us and take our state back. The least we can do is remove these Islamic scars from the Temple Mount. He says, no, I don't want to offend the Muslims. What a dunderhead. God, Israel's had stupid leaders. And shows no courage even today.
Yeah, you don't want to
so
offend
excited.
them. The people that are trying to kill you, you don't want to make them more mad. What does this? That makes no sense.
1,400 years they've tried to perpetrate genocide against you, and have killed every opportunity they've had and tortured you, and you don't want to make those people mad? What in the hell's wrong with you? And now they're celebrating because, oh, well, now we can bring prayer books to the Temple Mount.
Prayer books.
Well, yeah, desecrated all the more. Why don't you tell me in the Torah where Yahowah says, I want you to pray to me?
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Bob your head, read your Talmud.
It was handed right back. I mean, how soon after they captured and reacquired their property on the Temple Mount did Dayan give it back to King Hussein of Jordan?
Days. It's one of the most despicable moves ever made by an Israeli. And Israeli leadership has been horrendous. Anyway, it's going to be purged of all of that garbage. Jews playing Jews for fools.
Oh,
boy, this is really a sad sack of a man. So he's saying, oh, we won't have any more Abraham Accords until after the elections. After the elections, maybe some more Abraham Accords. Islam.
They've been working out so well.
Islam has tried to annihilate Jews for 14 centuries. Why do you want to have an accord for them? Do you want to say, oh, we're going to play nice and we'll lay down all of our defenses so that you can come and just kill us more easily? That would be just fine. We want to be nice to you as you're killing us. So we'll form an Abraham Accord with you. And oh, by the way, the only way that Abraham is mentioned in the godforsaken Quran is because the idiot rabbis sold Talmud stories to Muhammad.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have known Abraham from a sausage.
No, they wouldn't have. It should be called the Hudaybiyyah Accords.
The rabbis screwed us again Accords.
Well, again, you're pointing out the ideology, it all emanates from the rabbis.
Yes. The Abraham did not have a religion. And the only reason that Abraham is known in Islam is that every story about Abraham in the Quran came from the Talmud, including the breaking up the little idols to leave the big idols. And his whole life in Ur is not told in the Torah. It is told in the Talmud, and it's all a lie. It's all stupid. And that stupid shit made its way into the Quran. Guess who gave it to them? The rabbis. It's Abraham Accords. You might as well call it the rabbis screwed us again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And me as Kirshner, I want to make a buck on it.
Oh.
World Economic Forum. There you are there, pal. Another boy that inherits a fortune from his daddy and has no morals. Okay.
Oh. Projection.
Yeah, rejection. Well, who knows why they wouldn't bother to do so, but maybe they just got caught too red-handed. But most of the stories that are presented in the Islamic media and also on X and Facebook of the IDF for Jews did this, they raped these people, they bludgeoned those people, they're despicable. Most of the stories are made up. Even most of the stories, even though there are some bad settlers in Judea and Samaria, most of those stories are actually taunted by Marxist Jews, Israelis, who have the cameras there, who have taunted the Jews in that community to attack. And they won't film any of the taunting. And then but they're there with the film crews to film the result. Israel can't win for losing. And of course, that story of how they allegedly raped civilians in the Gaza hospital spread around the world multiple times, and the retraction, of course, will mean nothing to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So here we have that Arachi is announcing a new era for Iran. I listened to this. It's actually, you'd have to read unless you're up to snuff on your Farsi, you need to read the captions. But he's giving a recap of the war, and he says, Iranians, you should hold your head up high, and your country defeated the United States, and we achieved supremacy for Iran, and this is a marvelous accomplishment which you've achieved. And my comment is, if holding your head up high is a good thing, then why do Muslims prostrate themselves to Allah, who treats them so badly? That must be a bad thing.
Easy enough.
It's interesting that Arachi almost never mentions Islam or Allah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he doesn't. I understand that he's not a mullah or shah or whatever their thing is, but he doesn't even wear the garb, anything that I mean, there's no. He just appears very, very, very secular. He
does. Yeah, he does. He's a very erudite, well-educated man, very articulate, highly skilled at his craft. But I just want to point out, if holding your head up high is good, which I think it is, then why is prostrating yourself to Allah not considered bad?
And it's interesting, he doesn't give a praise be to Allah for their overcoming the great Satan of does he? He doesn't. I mean, it's perfect opportunity, and yet he Yeah.
And I think it has to be orchestrated, because he's representing an Islamic regime, and he is the spokesperson of that Islamic regime. And the Islamic regime, of course, wants to be praised to Allah on everything. But that regime is Persian and smart enough to recognize that winning the war of public opinion is, in particular, I mean, they're going to win the war of public opinion with Muslims, so they don't really have to do much there. But they want to win the war of public opinions with the rest of the world. And the best way to do that is to be reactive as opposed to aggressive, and to be measured in your responses, and to not praise be to Allah.
They're just hoping we all forget that they're an Islamic. I mean,
yeah,
but it's working. I mean, I'm with you.
It is working. It is working. I mean, I'm never
marketing.
going to forget. I've done more good in that country to create secularism than anybody else. It's the highest readership of Prophet of Doom was in Iran. So I know that I've made my contribution, and we've seen the results where in Iran, the majority of Iranians are no longer identifying as Shia Muslims. This is a very, very good thing. There will be many Iranians that are going to qualify for that final remnant. Both on both sides, by the way, on Yahud and on Goy side, because there's a lot of people throughout the Middle East, particularly in Persia and in that area, that have Jewish DNA. So there'll be plenty on both sides because they are disassociating themselves from the religion. Yeah, and he never associates himself with the religion.
Look how good things turned out with a Moabite lady and a man from Edom. So I mean,
man from Edom and Moabite. But of course, they're kissing cousins of Judea and Israel. I mean, not only neighbors, but the same ethnicity.
Yes. Again,
same ethnicity. So, dear X, halting talks isn't a significant shift in strategy because there have been no talks to halt. So, Megatron, you are not promoting something that is new. This is not a significant shift. There were no talks, and now the little devils in his mind that are going back and forth. Yesterday, 2 days ago, there were talks. Today, there are no talks. And so what he's doing is halting the talks that never existed. Going back to the strategy that he disrupted, which was the strategy of sanctions.
That wasn't working,
That wasn't working.
Strategery, I tell you, that's strategery.
Strategery,
get you every,
really strategery.
It'll get you every time.
I really want to. I mean, I'm just curious as whatever's happened to the son, the new supreme leader. I mean, how many body parts is he missing? What? Obviously, it has to be something also that was a travesty in terms of his face and how it was somehow mauled.
Yeah, because I mean, you can shoot people from the neck up, and they can get their point across, right? So it's and it's not like something you can cover with makeup or a big beard or I mean, wrap the hat a little down low. It's like you're missing a jaw or something.
Yeah, the rumor has always been that he has serious damage to his face and lost either an arm or a leg or both. Well, you kill name a man like that. You kill his father. You kill his daughter. You kill his wife, and you expect him to say, "Oh, swell, let's capitulate now." I'm so sorry that I've offended you. I'm ready to capitulate.
Yeah. Spreading democracy to the Ukraine. They needed to have democracy.
There's 1,000 of these. This is just a kid. 1,000 of these online. It doesn't matter if it's an old man or an old woman or a kid. These are the thugs.
Well, and
the dog, by the way, the dog is the only one here that is moral. Once again, the dog's the one that's moral.
And what they're down to is, I mean, it says here, too young, too old, too sick, or a combination of the three. I don't know, too old, too.
Yeah, it's very much like the Russian strategy in Leningrad, which is that if you throw enough bodies at them, even if those bodies have no guns and they have no bullets, it requires a bullet to take them down. And that the Germans will run out of bullets if you throw enough bodies at them. And the Ukraine the whole proxy war with Ukraine was we were renting cannon fodder. We were arming people to take a bullet for the United States to bludgeon Russia. That was the whole strategy of it. And now they've run out of genuine soldiers, and so they're yanking people from the street. And of course, do you know that half of the population of Ukraine is gone?
Mm-hmm.
Half of the population. Half of the population is gone. Either killed or have fled the country.
Mm-hmm.
Half of the population. Millions upon millions of Ukrainians are gone. If this was such a popular war, you think that would happen?
No.
Do you see Iranians fleeing?
No.
But you do see Ukrainians trying to avoid this whole mess. So, hard for me to even read this. It's got so much light. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
So here is Soltrich, and he is saying that God speaks to him and giving him direction as to how he should proceed. And I know God pretty well. We've worked together for 25 years. He has a lot to say about our collaboration. And I can assure you, God does not talk to Smoltrich. He has never and will never. God does not look like that man that is whispering in Smoltrich's ear either. And he's left Israel. He's not returning until such time as a remnant return to him. And Smoltrich will not be part of that remnant. So he is lying on behalf of rabbinic Judaism and on behalf of political Israel. This notion that God has their back and that Hashem is protecting them is an egregious lie. You can read the Torah and prophets, and it's very clear that Israel was divorced from Yahowah. And it was divorced from Yahowah for being like this, religious and political. And God said, because you've been religious and political, and because you're ignorant regarding me, you're going to die, and I'm leaving you, and I'm not coming back to you until such time as you return to me. And I don't hear him saying, Yahowah gave us some great insights as to how we should respond at a time like this, and told us what the future was going to entail. Now we're in the time of Yitzhak's or Jacob's troubles, and therefore I want to turn to the testimony of the prophets now and let you know what is happening and going to happen and what we should do as a result of it. But no, it's a parade of, I'm not going to mention that name, which is, by the way, an unforgivable crime to erase and replace Yahowah's name. But he does it. And he's lying to the people. And he, by the way, is an anomaly in right-wing politics. He is so lowly now in polling that it's likely he will not hit the threshold. So that you don't have 4 Knesset seats, you don't make the threshold. He's going to have to sign up with somebody to get it. And yet Ben-Gur has surged, and he is the asshole of assholes.
This is repugnant. This is beyond an embarrassment. I don't even know what to say. This is...
Yeah, what Yahowah says about how to govern is to listen to the Shaphat, to listen to him, to pay attention to the Torah guidance, no laws, to disavow all forms of religion and politics. And you're doing exactly the opposite. So I can tell you, the God who's talking to you, he ain't God.
This is Satan.
Yeah, he's Satan. So
I think we've reached this was from yesterday. 2012.
This
betrayed
is
and destroyed.
This is Vivid doing his normal I'm a stupid idiot and a political hack saying one of the greatest leaders of our time, and it's Benjamin Netanyahu, surrounded by all of his bodyguard goons.
Big guys with guns. Yeah.
Yeah, big guys. Yeah, he's just like Trump. He's afraid of his own shadow, so he has to travel amongst a bunch of bodyguards and other protective systems. And no, he single-handedly took Israel to the point that it's the most hated country on earth and is completely isolated from the rest of the world and has lost everything. It's lost its dignity. It's lost its purpose. It's lost all association with anybody that matters in the world. Completely divorced from Yahowah. You're looking at the enemy of your people and you're praising that enemy as the hero of your people. This is why the most popular posters, even on behalf of Israel, are doing more damage to Israel than anybody outside. There's no Muslim on earth, no Marxist that is doing as much damage to Israel as Vivid is. All right, so that's the news of the day. Oh, we can talk just briefly about this. This is a reporter from CNN who somehow was given authorization to land on the Abraham Lincoln and listen to the grievances of the sailors. And the biggest grievance of all isn't the lack of food, which they have almost no food. It isn't the lack of sanitation. They have no soaps. It isn't the lack of functioning toilets. It isn't even the fact that they've been put on that tin can without being able to walk off it and having any freedom at all for 3 times the normal deployment. It's the fact that they're being lied to by the senior officers, and there is no one who is willing to tell them the truth.
Mm-hmm.
They're betrayed. That's the worst of all. That's what she heard over and over and over again. It's that no one could explain to them what's happening, why they're there. They're betrayed. All you can say is, don't enlist. Don't enlist. You're being betrayed. And if you are already signed up and you have surrendered your freedom, by the way, you know, at any company in America, you can just say, tomorrow, I don't want to work there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And you're free to go. But not the U.S. military. They can do anything they want to you, and you have no rights, no freedom whatsoever. So this notion that you are protecting freedom when you relinquish yours is nonsense. But there are ways out even once you're in. And being a conscientious objector to say, I had no idea that the officer corps would be this dishonest or that the treatment would be this inhumane.
Mm-hmm.
There is no judge in the country that would allow this kind of treatment in a prison.
You're right. Right. Absolutely.
So you
prisoners
have
more liberty. Prisoners have more liberty than they do.
Correct. There is a rumor that Hog's Breath and the POS in a suit want the sailors to have to sign non-disclosure agreements to even get leave once it's finally offered, that they can't talk about what happened. You're just a piece of meat to these assholes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yep, that's the nature of our world. So thank you, Dr. Jeff. Enjoyed having you. Loved having the conversations about the insights we've gleaned from the Torah. Lots to think about and grow from. We'll look forward to having Noah tomorrow. Noah being Noah tomorrow. It's always a fun experience. And then we're going to have Miss Leah on Friday. And I told her she's free to post some girly topics, but my guess is the first post that she's going to have is me killing Jesus, or at least demasking him. So that'll be fun. We'll see what I've given her full autonomy. She can choose what we post. Ought to be entertaining. Ought to be entertaining. Rich is saying, "Oh my God."
There might be some face palms coming.
Gonna be wild. Might be some face palms coming. But I always went into Leah today. I said, "So you don't like surprises, do you?" She says, "No." So you would never be mad at somebody that gives you advance notice on something that's important. And she says, "What are you getting to?" I said, "The answer to that is yes. No, I would not be." The answer is no. You would not be upset with somebody who gave you advance notice. You would like that. And then I said, "So who's the second picture in the vlog on the vlog intro?" I said, "So we got Dr. Jeff today. We've got Noah tomorrow, and so we have an open slot on Friday." She said, "Well, I can't do both." I said, "Fine. Introduce your song on Friday morning or Friday evening, and participate on the vlog." And that's when she says, "We don't do enough girly issues." I said, "Fine." I think we do a lot of girly issues, but that is fine. You send me graphics and a comment that I can post, and I'll post your comment and the graphics on X, and we'll go right through the line and we'll talk about your issues.
Excellent resistant comebacks. We just keep shaving away those no's, don't we?
We do,
right? I mean,
but,
that's yeah.
I've been doing this for 6,000 years, so we know how to get to yes. After 6,000 years. Oh, it was really cute though. One of the things that she was so proud to show it to me. She says, "Okay, so I've for various projects we're working on, I have Ruth in the field." And Ruth in the field, she's there, and she's working away, and you see a tear come down her eye, and it's what am I doing here? I did give up everything to come here, and here I am in this field alone. And then she has a picture of Boaz coming in riding in from his house, and he's got the big house on the hill, and he's coming in, and then she breaks out in a big smile and says, "Yeah, well, that'll work out just fine.
Things are looking up.
Huh? Things are looking up." It was really cute. So maybe we'll talk about that picture too, and the life of Ruth and Boaz on Friday. Who knows where it's going to lead? But we're going to have 2 hours of
ladies' choice
of Ruth and Boaz, and ladies' choice, which is the whole story, by the way, of Ruth and Boaz. It is ladies' choice. I mean, right from the beginning to the end, the story of Ruth and Boaz is ladies' choice. So that's a pretty good teaser.
Wow.
Right?
LTLing, man. LTL.
Yeah, listen to Leah. Yeah, we'll have lots of ears on that show. I'm quite certain. So thank you very much. Look forward to being with you later today. We'll continue to make our way through Mizmor 35 is what we're working on today. And then we're going to go into some really, really interesting material. That Coming Home 4. Boy, what a powerhouse. So great material to go through. Thank you very much. Glad we're able to get this show in. We rained twice already today, which we love. And we thought it might rain again, but it's just really humid today. We finally got rid of the Sahara sand, and it brought some humidity back in, which we really needed in our air here. Things were really drying out. We got 2 good rains, and I was certain it was going to rain on our parade here, but it stayed dry. And where the only interruption was somebody pounded some dishes there in your home, and we had a Wookiee trying to prove that he is the only boy dog and amongst 2 girl dogs, and the girl dogs need to pay attention to Wookiee. But we survived all that. A little breeze here and there, all good. And
we learned a lesson from Asher.
We did learn a lesson from Asher. Asher taught us a very, very valuable lesson. And I think Asher proved that she is more, she's even talking to me right now, that Asher is more moral and responsible than most people. All right. Thank you, my friends. Appreciate all your comments, particularly Jeff. It really helps on a program like this when you have history together. And we have history together, man.
Yes, bro. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
See you later.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.